Welcome, everybody. So, I kind of wanted to use today's session to talk about the things in our life that are ending, the things in our lives that need to be let go of so that we can move on and step into the next chapter. I'm seeing like Eight of Cups energy as I'm talking about this, if you guys are familiar with the tarot. If you're not, the image on the Eight of Cups is someone walking away from a bunch of emotions in the past. So, what in your life is closing? What in your life is coming to an end? What in your life do you have no choice but to surrender to? It's so ingrained in our personalities because it's just so easy. You create your perspective, you create your perception, and then you live by it because those are your beliefs. But once you're able to catch yourself and realize, I made all of this up, you have so much control. So I want to ask how. That's the question that's coming in. How do we let go of... Okay, let me say this first. I know that a lot of you guys are ending relationships. You're walking away from relationships because you've changed, and that's great. I love that. I love when we can recognize that we have grown and the people who have supported us through that growth are no longer supporting our growth. That's how I see it. The word toxic to me just seems like a pop culture word. I don't use that word. I don't like it. And I have a hard time understanding what people mean when they say toxic because no one's ever trying to hurt you. No one's ever trying to screw you over. It's just that things end. People grow, situations end. And I don't think that anyone is ever like trying to hurt you. It's just you who's allowing yourself to be treated like shit. Sorry. Hi. I just left my marriage last year because of that. So this whole relationship ending, it's because your mindset is changing as well. It's because you're no longer telling yourself the story that you have to be treated in XYZ way to receive love. You're allowing yourself to leave the relationship because you no longer believe that this relationship is the best that you can get. You have grown. Your beliefs have changed. Therefore, you are telling yourself new stories. The story used to be, this energy is awesome. The story now is, this energy is no longer working for me. So, how do we recognize the stories that are holding us back? Do you guys like that question? How can we recognize which stories we're telling ourselves that are holding us back? So we'll use one deck to pull 3 cards, and we'll get 3 ways that we can recognize the stories that are holding us back. And then we'll pull a culminating card at the end. So I didn't choose any decks yet. And I'm just scanning over all the decks, and this one wants to work, and I don't know why. I love when a deck calls to me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what you're gonna say. Those are always like the best readings. So the Healing Waters Oracle is what wants to speak today. Before I get carried away, I do have something to tell you guys before we get to the cards. So you might have noticed, if you've been with me on Insight Timer for quite some time, months ago, I was coming here 3 times a week and we were jumping and popping and it was great. And then I freaked out and ran away for 2 months. And I wasn't here like all of December, January, February. And I did a lot of introspection during those times. And you guys know that I absolutely love this work. I could come here and pull cards and read your comments and interact with you and like guide you through cards and astrology. I could do this all day, every day. And I've been doing it for 3 years. I started on Insight Timer in 2021. But there was just something that wasn't feeling right. It was something that I felt like I was just giving. And I understand that this is a donation-based platform, but I was giving too much. So starting in 2 weeks, I'm going to start doing more readings on YouTube, solely on YouTube. So I will still be here on Insight Timer sporadically, once, twice a month, so that we can keep our community going. But if you want to hang out with me weekly, I'm committing to at least weekly astrology and oracle readings through a YouTube membership. So it's available on my YouTube channel. You guys could just search my name. You can find information there. Or later today, in like 2 hours, I'm going to send out an email with more details, more information about what's going on. So you can go and join my email list. In my Insight Timer bio, there's one link. It's my link tree. Everything is there. You can explore the YouTube membership there. You can get to my newsletter there as well. So if you want to hang out with me weekly and also have a smaller community, you guys see that I read all your comments all the time because I want to know what you guys are thinking and saying. So come to YouTube, and they're going to be members only readings once a week. And then there's only going to be a handful of us to start. So I'll really get to know you. You'll really get to speak your voice and have your messages come through the cards. So stay tuned for that. But here we are asking, how can we recognize the stories that are holding us back? So as you send your energy into the deck that's in my hands, I want you to intuit which part of your life you feel the most stuck. Which area of your life do you feel like you have been trying and trying to push forward, but there's something that is holding you back? And let's focus on that area of life. Which stories are you telling yourself that might be holding you back? I'll allow 3 cards to fall out of this deck for us. So all of the cards will have a message for everybody. The whole reading is for everybody. However, I'm going to hold up the backs of the cards so that you guys can see if any of the cards are speaking to you in a different way. That might mean that that specific card or 2 cards might have a stronger message for you today. So if nothing changes, that does not mean that your intuition is broken. It just means that the whole reading holds equal importance for you. So, which stories are holding us back? How do we know? How can we recognize the stories that are holding us back? Because these stories are they're your stories. They are your stories. And if you hold on to them so tight, it's your belief system. So it's so hard. It's so hard to recognize which stories are holding you back because it's just what life is to you. Oh. Uncovering the stories that were holding me back I love it. So how can we recognize the stories? Here's the back of card number 1. The back of card number 2. And the back of card number 3. Card number 1 today brings us the Selkie. Come out of hiding, embrace who you really are. There are many thoughts about what the ancient story of the seal people, or Selkies, signifies. But for me, or Rebecca Campbell, it's about the masks we wear, things being taken from us, how we hide parts of ourselves, the longing for home, the call to be wild and free, embracing our true self, answering the call deep within, and sharing our true voice. In Celtic, Scandinavian, and Icelandic mythology, there are different versions of the story, but here's one example. A man finds a Selkie, a seal woman, on the beach. He steals her skin, without which she can't return to the sea. He hides it, convinces her to become his wife. The Selkie woman feels the ocean calling to her deep within and yearns for it daily. The couple lead a normal human life and have children, but eventually the Selkie finds her hidden skin and returns to her home in the sea. It's time to come out of hiding, to show the world who you truly are, to embrace your uniqueness, your weirdness, your you-ness. to swim freely in the ocean of your life? How are you being called to embrace who you truly are? Are there ways that you are hiding your unique light from the world? How can you embrace even more of who you truly are? Are there ways that you're not showing up as your full, true self in your life or in your relationships? How are you being called to share your voice? Where do you feel held captive? What do you need to feel free? How can you embrace who you truly are? Of course, I'm going to tell you guys a personal story that relates to this that might help trigger something in your brain. So the energy that I get from this card is that there is a story in your life, whether it was created by you, by a relationship, or just by society. But there's a story in your life that tells you that you are a certain role, that you are identified as a certain role. And when you are in this role, there are X amount of like character qualities. Like you have to be this way if you are to be a good role. What's coming up for me, I noticed a lot of this kind of energy in my marriage. I noticed he had a lot of opinions about what life was. There were things that I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. So I'm just going to try that. Okay, I like what he's saying, so the more he says it, the more I'm going to do it for him to make my husband happy, because I did love the guy. But in the process, I didn't recognize until later on that I was losing parts of myself because I was doing what he taught me was expected of me as a good wife or whatever. And this is not like the super oppressive, like, don't think I was living in the Handmaid's Tale. This stuff happens slowly, and until you take a step back and recognize, it's hard to see. And I'm trying to think of a specific example. So this last weekend, long story short, one of my sisters went to rehab for a month. And then this past weekend, I picked her up and I brought her home and we did all these things together, just like acclimating her back to her house. And I felt a lot of old Jackie coming out. So high school Jackie, right? We're going back a long time. I'm just kidding. High school Jackie was very sweet, thoughtful. I would go over the top for people. Oh, it's your birthday, so I'm going to hand make you this card and I'm going to write all my feelings out in it. And I continued that through my adult life. And then just through, this is a really bad way to tell the story, but through this marriage, his comments would be like, oh, well, that's unnecessary. Oh, well, that's silly. Oh, you don't need to put that much effort into stuff like that. And I kind of convinced myself that maybe I don't, because his explanation was kind of hitting a part of me that was exhausted from not, I don't know. And so I stopped doing a lot of those things. But then being put back in a caretaking situation where someone actually needs me, those parts of myself started coming out. So I recognize, let's bring it back to the question that we're asking today, which stories were holding me back? The story that putting that much effort and care into people wasn't worth it, that's just a story. And, maybe it was true for a handful of years because I wasn't by people who appreciated that side of me. Could be. But that is a story that I can identify through this card that was holding me back. So, who in your life, maybe completely by accident, right? Maybe completely unintentionally, who in your life has taken something from you, convinced you that you are now this new person who is without your seal skin? And then what is it inside of you that just like, man, I really want to do this. Man, I really want to travel. Man, I really just want to see what it's like to be with someone else. What is calling you from the inside? That is your true essence trying to come out. And then whatever story you tell yourself to shut down that desire, that's the story that's holding you back. Because it's just a story. It's not true. It's not true. Hard. It's just a story. It's a story that you tell yourself because you think it's going to keep you safe. What if you told yourself the story that by letting go of people that are not in alignment with you, you're going to find the best friends that you've ever met in your life, and you're going to feel so much more authentic because you get to show up as your true self and be fully loved and fully accepted. Why is it so hard for us to tell ourselves the positive story? Why do we convince ourselves that like we just have to do all these things that we hate? So the Selkie card, how do we recognize the stories we're telling ourselves? Follow your true desires. Listen to what is calling out from your inside, and then recognize which story comes around to shut that part of you up. That's a story. Card number 2. How else can we recognize the stories that are holding us back? Card number 2 brings us the plunge. That's getting really annoying. I can't change it right now though, guys. If you just tapped in and you keep hearing that noise, it's this like magnetic phone holder that I have. Card number 2, plunge. Don't hold back. It's time. Go for it. Dive in. Don't falter as you approach the water. Dive right in. Head first. Don't resist. You've been working for this for a long time. You're ready. Go for it. The answer is yes. This is a card of confirmation and clarity. It's an invitation to take the plunge and say yes. If you're someone who prefers to wait for permission or a timely invitation, you could consider this card's message just that. There are times for waiting, for restoring, and for repairing. This is not one of those times. It doesn't necessarily mean that you feel completely prepared or fully confident. Those who dive in rarely do, but their attachment to resistance becomes less than their desire for the new. Maybe this is what's been happening for you. If you don't feel ready, remember that so-called giant leaps are rarely that in reality. In most cases, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of baby steps taken day after day in the direction of a dream. Whatever it is that you most desire, the signs are pointing you in that direction. Now, take a deep breath and a great big run up and take the plunge. This comes with a soul inquiry question. If you weren't worried about it not working out, what would you plunge into right now? If you had no stories that told you it wouldn't work out, what would you plunge into right now? Go ahead and answer that question for me, and then I'll give you my thoughts on these cards, on this card. If you were not worried, what would you plunge into? What would you run into? What would you dive in head first? Jump in with both feet? What is it? What is your inner Selkie calling for you to do? Of course, you're gonna accomplish less if you stand on the diving board, right? How are you going to create big waves if you're standing on the diving board and you're like dropping in a little pebble? Oh, the wave wasn't big enough. This probably isn't gonna work. Okay, I should just hold back a little bit more. I shouldn't take the plunge. What I'm getting from this card is once you do take the plunge, that's when these stories are going to be shown to you. It's like if you're just standing there waiting, you're never going to know what's holding you back until you just say, there's something calling inside. There's something inside of me that feels like I'm not living in my true reality and I have to go for it. I have to take the leap. I have to see what this is like outside of my current reality. Once you take the plunge, then it's going to be like, oh, wow, oh my God, I told myself that I wasn't going to have the money I needed to do this. And then that was such a lie. I told myself I was never going to find friends ever again. That was such a lie. Card number 2 is telling you that you have to do the thing in order to uncover what was holding you back. This is going to be like a retrospect example. You have to go for it, then you'll be shown what was holding you back. Okay, so card number 2 says if you want to recognize which stories are holding you back, you have to jump into what your soul is calling you to do in order to learn in retrospect which stories were holding you back. Sorry. It's the card saying it, not me. Card number 3, how can we recognize which stories we're telling ourselves that are holding us back? Card 3 is the cosmic ocean. Current dreams, future realities, new beginnings. Water features in the creation stories of countless cultures across the globe, perhaps more so than any other natural substance or mystery. Echoing through these symbolic narratives about the birth of the world is the notion that everything originated from water. Many creation myths speak of life arising from the primordial waters, or the great cosmic ocean. The Rig Veda, the original Indian sacred text, states that creation began with the darkness, where all was an unrecognizable salty ocean. And to the ancient Babylonians of Mesopotamia, in the beginning, there was both salty water and sweet water, which merged to create the gods. In many creation myths, transformation and emergence occur in the places where natural elements overlap. While Celtic mythology doesn't have a specific creation story, there is the fable of, I can't say this word, Iocha, E-I-O-C-H-A. Celtic mythology has a fable where a white mare born from the foam where the sea meet the land before time began. This card is one of promise, hope, and new beginnings. What dreams are making their way into your consciousness? What is it that you are dedicated to creating? While the manifestation may not be immediate, time will bring things to fruition. Trust in the whispering dreams of your destiny, just as the new beginnings of a stream may one day flow into the vast ocean. Something new is beckoning to be born. So dare deep and wide. Dream your future into reality. And there's a soul inquiry question for this card. What's the biggest dream you have that even you are yet to admit to? What's the biggest dream you have that even you are yet to admit to? So how do we recognize which stories are holding us back? I feel like this card is giving us a multi-step process. I feel like this card is asking you to dream up your ideal future, the biggest dream that you haven't even admitted to yourself yet that you want. An example I gave you guys last time is I'm trying to create a world where I don't have to follow time. I'm trying to create a world where I get to show up and be whenever I want, not meeting you guys at 9 a.m. or meeting a client at 1 p.m. I'm trying to create a world where I just flow the whole time. So do that. What is it? What is your greatest dream, regardless of any stories that are going to come in and sabotage it? Get it out there. Then you can see, you have to watch your mind, because your mind isn't truth. Your mind is thoughts. Your mind is a perspective. Your mind is just here for perspective. It's just here to give you ideas. So you say, I want to create a world where time doesn't exist. What's the first thing that says, well, you can't possibly do that because then how are you going to make this, and this, and this happen? Those are the stories that are holding you back, right? So what is something that you guys want, right? I'm just going to use like the podcast example. I want a podcast where I get to show up and speak with people that are super fun and I don't have to plan anything and the editing just happens behind the scenes and then hundreds of thousands of people listen to my podcast and they grow and they expand and they love my podcast and they ask me questions and it gets interactive. Write that out. What do you want? And then watch. What's the first thing that comes into your mind to sabotage that? Because that's bullshit. Whatever it is that comes in to say, nope, you can't have that, that is bullshit. That is a lie. That is a lie. And you can so easily, you could so easily take that lie and look for proof all over the place. Well, this person couldn't achieve this goal because they failed this way, and this person had to work so super hard because this is how life is, and you just have to be an adult and you just have to get your stuff done. Okay, you can look at life through that perspective, or you can take it lighter and you can look for examples of people, influencers, business people, whoever. Look for people who already have what you want. That's proof that you can create it. That's proof. They've done it. There ain't nothing different between them and me. That means I can do it too. Look for proof. Whatever big dream you have, it exists. There's a reason you desire these things also. There was something that I saw the other day, and it made a lot of sense. Like, what if your desire for this life is so strong because it already exists, and your future self is like, come on, you can do it, let's go, come on, you can do it, it's right here, it's right in front, I'm gonna dangle it, you can run towards it, you got it. Like, what if your desire is so strong because it already exists? So what is your biggest dream? Dream your biggest dream and then watch what your mind tries to do to sabotage it. How many stories, and these are positive stories, how many stories have we heard, whether you know someone or like you've just heard it through the grapevine, of someone who is diagnosed with like a super terminal disease and only 2% of people survive, and that patient said, well, my story is that I'm going to survive, and then it's physically impossible because I have a 98% chance of dying, but they say, nope, that's not for me, and then they make it happen. Miracles are so possible. It's the mind that holds us back from having miracles. Catch yourself. Watch your mind. We're going to pull one more card to wrap this all up, so don't hop away just yet. Think about, let's go back to card 1. What is it in your life that like you feel like you want, but there's something around you that's saying like, nope, that's not possible for me. I can't have that. What is calling to you? I mean, what is calling to you? What do you desire that you just can't seem to obtain because of limiting structures in your life? Start there. Start with the feelings. What do you desire to feel? So we asked, how can we recognize the stories that are holding us back? It's calling within you because there's something that has been taken away from you intentionally or most probably unintentionally by someone else. So whatever it is that you're calling for that will show you the story that's holding you back. Sometimes you might not know what story was holding you back until you take the plunge into what it is that you want. And then also by dreaming up your biggest, wildest dream, the first thing that comes into your mind to tell you why you can't have it, that's a story. That's a story. So what I want to ask is how do we detach from this story? How do we make peace with this story? How do we move away from living in a way that makes this story true? How do we rewrite the story? Now that we've identified the story, how do we rewrite the story? We're going to use the Star Codes Astro Oracle to answer that one. Now that we've identified the story, how do we rewrite it? And this deck, I'm just asking for one card. Just asking for one card, and we'll see what comes out. Now that we've found the story, how do we rewrite it? If you guys have been enjoying today's session, if you would like to offer an energy exchange in the form of a donation, they are always super appreciated. You can donate here on Insight Timer. Or if you would like to use PayPal, Venmo, there are links in my link tree if you'd like to do that. I will also let you guys know if you joined late, I am stepping back from Insight Timer. I'll still be here once or twice a month, but I am starting on YouTube. I'm going to do weekly readings on YouTube, and that will be through a membership. So I'll have a more detailed email coming out in a few hours, so you can hop on my email list to get more information, or you could just go into my link tree in my Insight Timer bio That's how you get to all of my links. Anything I ever talk about's in my link tree. So in there you can sign up for my email list to get more information, and that's where there's a link to the YouTube membership as well. And those are going to be once a week, either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. If I feel spicy, I'll come on more than once a week, but it's going to be the same structure that we've been doing on Insight Timer, just a more intimate, exclusive group where we can get a little bit more personal. We actually had 2 cards that came out. So first we asked, how do we identify the stories that are holding us back? And then we used the Star Codes Astro Oracle to ask how to move on. Now that we've identified these stories, what do we do with them? How do we make them work for us? Or how do we create new stories? 2 cards. The first one is card number 13, and the message is dignified. It means strength. A planet is at its strongest when it is essentially or accidentally dignified in a sign or placement that aligns with its nature and adds strength. For example, Mars is most Mars-like when in Scorpio or Aries, the 2 signs it rules, or in Capricorn, which is a strong sign of leadership. A dignified planet is like the soccer player who happens to be out in front and free in the exact right place to receive a pass. Your voice matters. Trust that you are what's needed right at this moment. You are in your element at the right place at the right time, so you have an advantage. But it's up to you to make a choice and run with the ball. Dodge the obstacles and look for the opportunities just beginning to emerge. Have faith in yourself. You have what it takes, even if you don't know it yet. It is up to you to tap into your potential and find the resources within. Play to your strengths, use your contacts, sing the song that best fits your voice. Do so with humble respect for the process. This situation is strong enough for you to fulfill your potential without stepping on another person to get ahead. The wind is with you, but will not do the work for you. Take the lead, do your work, and bring your team along with you. The challenge of this card, it may be tempting to take over. Yes, it's time for you to shine, but bring everyone along with you rather than dominate them, or you may be left high and dry once this game is over. The gift of this card? For weeks, months, or lifetimes, you have prepared for this moment. The muscles you've built in body and soul and the understanding you have accrued are needed here at this time and place. So now that we know what stories are holding us back, how do we move forward? Look for the easy path. Look for the things that just come naturally and that excite you the most, and dive in and just follow and do it. There is a path of least resistance waiting for you. Perhaps you have a story around why your life isn't supposed to be easy, right? So this card for sure is telling you that there's something, like you have an alley-oop. The universe always gives us an alley-oop. The universe always sets us up for exactly what we need. If you're meant to go be this like mega business person and you get fired from your job, that's your alley-oop. If you're meant to be in the most loving, caring relationship of your life and then your partner turns toxic, that's your alley-oop. What is it that is calling you forward? Take advantage of all the easy things in your life. You deserve them. They are there because you deserve them. So play into them. That's what I'm getting from the Dignified card. The second card that came out of Star Codes Astro, asking, what do we do with these stories? How do we overcome these stories? The first one was Dignified. Take charge with what's easy, what the universe has set you up with. And card 2 is the asteroid Juno, representing partnership. It's card number 31. Look at, we had card 13 and then card 31. Interesting. The asteroid Juno points out how you may have been trained to choose love and work, and offers clues on how to balance them instead. This asteroid was named after the daughter of Saturn, wife of Jupiter, and mother of Mars. She is Queen, the organizer of society, and she rules the roost. Juno and Jupiter modeled an uneasy but equal partnership that took a lot of work and had great rewards. In work and love, Juno wants you to trust that you can hold steady on your life's path and develop equal partnerships. So get in there and wrestle to make the relationship work. Research healthy relationship skills and study negotiation and mediation techniques. Practice respect, communication, love, and conflict resolution between the various facets of your own personality. Like Juno and Jupiter, strive to become two whole, empowered souls who can express their individual potential, work around each other's foibles, and find balance. Be responsible for your own connection to the creative source, spirit, and your emotions. Don't ask another to carry your heart for you, as it makes it hard to accept their unique path. Live out your ambition through your own work rather than through your mate, children, employees, or coworkers. If you do so, you can encourage others' growth and exploration along with your own, and so create the foundation of great relationships and a sense of community. If you don't, you can devolve into jealousy or create monsters. If you want to be in a partnership but are not, examine any belief or training that said you have to give up what matters to you in order to partner up. If it's your choice to work alone, accept it. If not, expand that view and invite fresh possibilities. The challenge of this card: if you live out your ambition through your work mate or partner, instead of through your own efforts, the situation can devolve into jealousy, manipulation, or disempowering micromanaging. The gift of this card: true partnership is a spiritual path. Its sacred acts are the practice of healthy relationship skills. These skills begin within. So how do we step out of the stories that are holding us back through this Juno card? The energy that kept coming through this for me is to work on the things in your life that you feel are toxic, but take full responsibility for your part in them. Sure, you might be in an unhealthy relationship, you might be in an unhealthy work situation, but what do you have control over through your actions? How can you get right with yourself? How much of your relationship is toxic because you're expecting the other person to be a certain way for you? I purposely wanted to let that question sit because there is a difference between like basic human respect and just having unhealthy relationship expectations on the other person. But the only thing that we can control is our own behavior, our own growth, our own progress. So that might be something to think about. That Juno card threw me off. We were in such a such a good run of like, yeah, you go, you do it, you rip the Band-Aid. What dreams do you want? And now it's like, wait a second, what are you doing in your partnerships? What are you projecting onto the people that you are trying to salvage your relationship with? And this can be with your job too. Are you living? And it's hard for me to put my mind in it because I haven't had coworkers in a few years, but like, are you angry that your company isn't progressing in the direction that you want it to progress into because the people around you aren't doing what you want to do? Like, how much of yourself are you projecting onto the rest of the people that you work with? Is your relationship with a friend, a partner, whatever, is it feeling toxic because they're not doing what you want them to do? Like, be careful with that. Be careful with that. If that's the case, like, it's okay to break up sometimes. It's okay to end contracts and stuff. It's okay. You'll figure it out. But how do we detach from the stories? Take the path of least resistance, first of all, because the universe is going to set you up. You are in a place where you're ready to receive the soccer ball. Are you going to run with it? Are you going to follow the path of least resistance? And sometimes the path of least resistance is focusing on yourself, doing the work that you personally can do to make sure that you are right in yourself, your beliefs, your thoughts. You're creating your best reality. And then if it doesn't align with the people around you, that's your cue that maybe your path of least resistance is to go with the other thing that is serving you better, and that's fine. It's your life. You don't owe anybody anything. This whole self-worth thing, I'm not worthy of having an easy life, so when the universe gives you something easy, it's not for me. The story says, I can't take that. That's not for me. But how can this partnership card? How can you work on the worthy part of yourself so that the unworthy part of yourself wants the worthy part of yourself to receive these easy circumstances? So I'm just going to recap real quick. How can we identify which stories are holding us back? The Selkie card came out. It's a story about a seal woman whose skin was stolen by her husband, and then she had this deep longing inside of her, like, oh, I'm meant to be in the sea, I'm meant to be in the sea. And it wasn't until she went back into the sea that she remembered, oh shit, I'm a Selkie. So whatever desire it is that's pulling you inside that you can't, nope, I can't do that. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I can't, nope, I'm a business person. Whatever that desire is, that's your true nature, and the story that you're telling yourself about why you can't have it, that's the story that's holding you back. Card number 2 is the plunge. So this card was encouraging you. Whatever it is that your soul is desiring, take the leap, go for it, dive in head first, because you're going to be supported. You are always going to be supported. You've made it through 100% of your hardest days, so why would you not make it through the next one? Once you take the plunge, that's when you will be shown, oh man, I was telling myself that I couldn't do this for all those years? What a story. What a crazy story. And then that will help you identify stories in the future, you know? So like once you take the plunge, the next plunge gets easier and easier. And the last card from the first spread was the Cosmic Ocean. This card was letting you know that you have this grandiose dream. There is something so magnificent that you just desire so strongly, but your stories might not even allow you to recognize that you desire it. World peace, right? Don't we all want world peace? But, oh, that president of ours, he's gonna mess it all up. That's a story. So what is it in your mind that is such a beautiful story that you could never imagine being real? Write it down, get it out, and then look for the first thought that tells you that it can't be possible. That is a story that is holding you in your not so dreamy reality. And then we asked, how do we let go of these stories? Cool, now that we've identified them, how do we let them go? The Dignified card let us know that the universe is throwing you the ball. The universe is setting you up. The universe is setting the stage. It's up to you if you're going to run with the ball. It's up to you if you're going to take the play. So things like losing a job, losing a partner, losing a part of yourself, losing some family members, that's the universe saying like, here's fertile soil. What do you want to do with it? Go create your biggest dream. Go follow the inner calling that has been burning within you. Go do it. And then we also had Juno, the asteroid of partnership, to show us that in order to let go of our stories, we gotta focus in ourselves. We have to be working with what we can do in our situations. We can never control anyone else's behavior, opinions, thoughts, ideas, actions. We have no control over that. But what can we do personally that can make ourselves have the greatest experience in our lives, regardless of what's going on around us? Thank you all so much for your donations, the support that came through today. It's always very much appreciated. I love sharing this wisdom with you guys. I really love being here so much. Sending love to all. Namaste. Enjoy recognizing the stories that have been holding you back. See them with love. See them with love. Please do not judge yourself. There's no need to judge the stories. They got you to where you are today. Now you're ready to see them, and now you're ready to step beyond them.